Hi there, I'm Sean Osterlink, and welcome back to Overcoming with ACT. I'm continuing my series here of talking about counselor skills, and today I'm going to be talking about empathy and the role that that plays in the therapy session. And I've broken it down into a few different elements here: validating or validation, caring, warmth, supporting, these kind of things all blend together. But I thought I would just kind of explain some of this stuff along this theme of like what are we doing as therapists? What do we have in mind as we're working with people? What are we doing to make this a unique process? Like why are we earning your money? Why come here and do this thing? What is this about? So just along with furthering um, this discussion. So empathy is a huge part of the therapy process. People typically want to feel like when they come to therapy, that they're going to be heard and understood, and that the therapist um, is engaged and cares about what they're talking about and has like a soft approach in some way to what they're sharing. Right? That people don't want to come to therapy and feel judged, criticized, um, crushed down. They don't want to experience um, discouraging kind of treatment or further harm from whatever they've experienced in other areas of their life, right? And so we want to, of course, keep that in mind, that our role here is to be empathetic to you, the client, that we're here to, and I'll go into this. So let's say validating. Validation is, I'm just going to think of like, how would I describe these things on the fly? Because like I've said before, I don't do much prep for these sessions. I like to come up with them naturally. So to validate a client, I'm, again, I've mentioned before, using reflective listening to state back what a client is sharing, or to give it back what they're sharing in their thought content or in their emotional content is itself a validating process. To come in here and talk and to feel like somebody is listening to me and they understand me is itself validating. There's more overt kind of validation or affirmation where as therapists, I might be expressing agreement, going, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe restating something that's shared, kind of expressing that positive tone. I understand you. I hear you. Things like that. That's a way that that's a way in my work that I try to express that I'm validating what the person is saying. Um, I'm not um, I'm not here to judge or challenge what's being stated. Now, as you go into that Socratic questioning process, as you're working on looking at things from other angles and change, then I mean there can be there absolutely is a role to explore things together for the client to work on challenging, but as the therapist, um, we want to be mindful to not be in a tug of war with the client, which will probably be um, its own episode to talk about. Just addressing things like transference and countertransference, and um, that our role as therapists is really to avoid trying to push or change a client, right? That this is a process of discovery so that the client can find the motivation and change within themselves. So all that to say is that I'm conscientious as therapists. We're conscientious that we're validating what a client is sharing, what a client is experiencing. Oh, this what's what you're sharing in here is your lived experience, and so um, as therapists, our role is to keep our own stuff really out of what's going on with the client, and so um, we can keep our own opinions and things out of stuff and be validating that yes, this is what you've experienced, this is what has happened to you. At least that would be the goal if we're if I'm achieving what I'm aiming for with that. So I put on here caring. So, and this is more maybe like tone of voice, body language, certainly using reflective statements or validating kind of statements is all in service of expressing that I care. I know that people can be conscientious of like, does my therapist care about me? Am I just a number? Am I just, one of a bunch of different people that they see? And I'm in here and then I'm out the door and then they're with the next person, right? Because as therapists, we might see somebody, if it's a busy day, you might be going back to back to back, depending on how you book your schedule. And so I'm sure clients wonder. I've seen comments of people writing on Reddit and stuff, wondering like kind of what it's like on the therapist perspective and things like that. And so it is part of the job to be expressing and conveying that we care. And I might make a separate episode about what's called congruence, but part of being the therapist is trying to really bring our own authentic selves to it. That when I'm in here with you for that 53-minute session, that I am bringing genuine caringness to this. I care about what's going on in your life. I'm directing my mind to be focused on what's going on with you. I'm maybe using these very act skills to redirect the mind, right? Because we're human beings and the mind might wander onto something else. Something else might pop into the mind, and thanks for that, mind. Nope, back here. Stay on what the client is sharing, this client, things like that. So, as therapists, we use the very skills that we teach people about, right? So that we can do our jobs better, give you our whole attention, and in that way showing that we do care. Going along those lines is expressing warmth. Again, I see this, there's a lot of overlap here, but I thought it was worthwhile to kind of tease out different elements of this. But I think just a warm personality can go a long way in drawing people out of their shell. Like, I'm a stranger to a new client. You don't know me. You just know this is my profession. I've got a license. So there's clout there and reason to trust. At the same time, I am still that stranger. And so having a cold, maybe demeanor might present more of a barrier to someone than having more of a kind of warm presence to them. And so certainly as I practice, I aim for having a warmer approach with people, and I think that kind of comes out naturally. I don't know if you, the viewer, picked up on that in here, if that comes through the video, but I think that broadly that's generally a useful approach as a therapist. And then I put lastly on here, just under this role of empathy, that as therapists, we're here to be a supportive kind of presence. And our aim is to be like supporting you and developing your self-advocacy. What can you be doing in your life to gather supports around you and to make changes and to address things that you feel like you need to address in your life or in your social environment or in the world. We're here to figure out and work with you on developing that motivation and to provide you that sense of we're a team. Right? This approach is collaborative. What I'm aiming for is not top down. It's not about fixing you or telling you what to do. It's something that we're doing together here. We're both working together as me functioning in that role to be that facilitator that supports you in figuring your stuff out, figuring out where you need to go as an individual, as a couple, as a family, whatever, and to feel like in the time that we're working together, I've got your back. To use an example, somebody else that I trained under used this example, and I'm going to use some pens that I've got here because I really like this and this stuck out to me. But they were like, this is This pen might represent one person standing alone trying to deal with whatever stuff in their life they're dealing with, and um, maybe this is another support that they have. Maybe this is a support that they already have in their life, and then as you come to therapy, maybe you get, I'm gonna add another pen to this, and now this is stronger than it was before than just one pen. And maybe as we're working in therapy, how can we gather more supports around you, or gathering, maybe whether those are friend supports or family supports or whatever it is that you needed. Maybe it's building skills as well that you're needing. And now, this lump of many pens, markers, and things, this represents something that's a lot stronger than it was when it was just maybe you on your own dealing with something, right? That would be pretty easy to break. So I didn't come up with that metaphor, and if I could remember the person's name who showed that, I would probably say it on here, but I can't remember. So thank you, whoever that was, who used that visual. But I liked that, and that stuck with me. So, and we're here for that time. And well, I missed the last part, but I would have pulled my pen part out of that, because eventually therapy ends, and my goal for you, for any client that I'm working with, is for you to have the skills and have the growth to be able to fly away out of here, and to feel more equipped to go about your life, and to have the relationships you need to support you, and really that ability to go forward feeling equipped to be able to solve your problems and navigate emotional ups and downs, and figure out how to do it more just within those circles that you have, rather than needing to rely on paying for a therapist, right? And like, um, you know, teaching or learning to work on your own car, so that the next time something happens and breaks down with your car, maybe you can fix it yourself. And there's things that kind of the layman can learn to do more for themselves, and they don't need to take it to the mechanic. And then there's times where it's just going to be beyond you, with time, skills, knowledge, things like that, where you're going to need to take a car, take a machine in for service. You're going to need that professional. And that's kind of how I think of therapy, that I want to get my clients to the point where they're pretty good on their own, and you can go forward. And at the same time, there's no shame in reaching back out again in the future. There's no shame in needing to take that car to the mechanic and needing that professional help to get you set back right and on your way. There's a million different metaphors that one could use for that, but anyway, I use the car metaphor. So thank you for your time today. That's a little about the role of empathy in therapy, and there's probably, you could write books on this stuff, but that's all I'll say about it for now. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.